Even though this girl Ju-won lost her mother when she was young, she is the cutest and has a cheerful disposition. She has a loving relationship with her father Young-jae, who owns a noodle shop. He is hardworking and an extremely kind-hearted man. Later on the way home, they bumped into new neighbors, Mr. Kim, who is a police officer, alongside his wife and son, San-ha, who are moving into the third floor. Ju-won ran over to greet San-ha and excitedly called him older brother, while Young-jae greeted Mr. Kim and his wife and even extended an invitation to visit his restaurant. However, they are reserved and not friendly to them. Later that night, San-ha's parents had a loud argument as she is not happy about him chatting with the new neighbors. Hearing the commotion, the residents called the police, but when the officers showed up, they were surprised to see Mr. Kim and left shortly. It turns out that they moved here because they want a new lease on life, as San-ha's mom could not get over the fact that her youngest daughter passed away. Later, Young-jae saw San-ha sitting on the stairs and offered him to come in to watch TV, but he declined and went home. As he was about to enter the house, he overheard his mom blaming him for the incident, as only San-ha and his sister were at home during the time of the accident. He is traumatized, heartbroken, but helps his dad to tidy up, and his dad told him that his mom is not angry, and just upset. San-ha returns from school the next day and cleans up his mom's soju bottles, and eats instant ramen on the stairs. Upon seeing this, Ju-won tells her dad and he prepares beef pancakes for him, and Ju-won takes it outside to share with him, but he rejects her kindness. The following day, the ajumma working at Young-jae restaurant sets him up for a blind date. She arrives with her son, Hae-jun. Ju-won is unhappy as she does not want a replacement mom and she is not friendly to Hae-jun. The two kids are sent outside to play so that the adults can talk, and as they are running around they bump into San-ha. However, there were two bullies behind them who were saying awful things about how he caused his sister's death and his mom does not want him. This made Ju-won upset and she confronts them, however they pushed her. Hae-jun and San-ha eventually joined in to help and they all ended up in a scuffle. Young-jae and the bully's mother arrives and she insisted that they apologize to her son, but Ju-won exclaims that the boy said awful things which resulted in the fight. Upon hearing that, Young-jae demands an apology and the boy and his mother ended up apologizing and left. Upon seeing this sight, Hae-jun is in awe of Young-jae. Later, they all went to have dinner at Young-jae's house. They have a heartwarming meal and later, Young-jae sends Hae-jun and his mother to the bus stop and asked San-ha to look after Ju-won. They went to the park to play and ran around happily. This scene was caught by San-ha's mom, who was unhappy. Ju-won also told San-ha that he can look at his sister's photos if he misses her, and later San-ha took out a family photo following her advice. On the bus home, Hae-jun mentions he enjoyed the food and his mom is thrilled about it and they hugged each other tightly. The next day, the ajumma told Young-jae that Hae-jun's mom has changed her phone number and both of them were puzzled by it and he is worried that something happened to them. Later, Hae-jun's mom left Hae-jun with his aunt, promising to come back soon after earning enough, and left. He is saddened by it and both of them were in tears as they waved goodbye. Later, Young-jae received a call from Hae-jun's mom asking for money and told him that she will pay back when she sells her hair salon. He does not have much money, but being an extremely kind-hearted person, he lent her the money and also notes down Hae-jun's aunt's address. When Young-jae visited Hae-jun to bring him some food, he finds him in a dirty environment and eating ramen on his own. Young-jae could not bear to see such a sight, and asks Hae-jun if he wants to stay with him instead until his mother returns. Hae-jun's face lights up and as his aunt does not have the means to care for him, Hae-jun goes to stay with Young-jae. When they arrive home, Hae-jun tells Young-jae that he wishes he was his real dad and Young-jae tells him to call him dad if he wishes. Ju-won saw this scene and was extremely upset as she was jealous. During dinner, Hae-jun was eating happily, but Ju-won on the other hand was jealous and started throwing a tantrum. She is upset about it because she does not want a new mom. San-ha returns home from school, but hears his parents fighting again. She is upset because she saw the family photo and says San-ha seems happier after moving here. Mr. Kim tells her that San-ha is only 8 years old, and that their daughter's death was not his fault, but she refuses to listen and wants to leave the house. San-ha is devastated upon hearing this and begs his mother not to leave and told her that he would not play with the other kids anymore, but she walks away. The next day, San-ha tells Ju-won that he is unable to play or eat with her anymore. At that moment, San-ha's mother walks out with her luggage, preparing to leave. Ju-won notices this and asks her if San-ha can come and play with her, and she asks Ju-won if she is so happy to have him as an elder brother, and she excitedly nods her head. She told Ju-won that she can keep him, because she is leaving him. Ju-won was thrilled and jumped up and down. However, San-ha is heartbroken as his mom walks away. The kids grew up happily together, and 10 years later, they are now a family of 5, and the 2 boys are in their final year and Ju-won is a first year at their school. They are close-knit, and during breakfast together, Ju-won brings up the idea of a formal adoption so that they will have the same surname, but they do not take her seriously and laugh it off. Later at school, the girls are always going after Ju-won as they want her to deliver confession letters to her brothers, and she is troubled by it. Hae-jun advises her to act crazy so that they stop disturbing her. She does that the next day and tries to stop them from bullying her, but it backfires instead, and Ju-won ends up tripping and falling into a pond. But luckily her best friend Park Dal rushes to call Hae-jun for help, and San-ha also overheard about it and they both came rushing to her. They clean the dripping water and put a jacket over her and tells the bullies off. They went home after school and they ran into a group of elderly who said that they were pitiful children as they do not have mothers. To avoid making each other sad, San-ha stood in front of Hae-jun and Ju-won cheerfully exclaims that she is happy to have her brothers. Later at dinner, San-ha grandmother calls him and he refuses her call and she calls Mr. Kim instead. When he steps out to take the call, San-ha is upset and leaves. Ju-won asks her dad why does his grandmother keeps calling when his mom has now remarried and have a new family, but her dad told her to let it go. After dinner, Young-jae later tells Mr. Kim that he should not keep in touch with his ex-in-laws anymore and focus on San-ha instead. They brought rice balls for San-ha, and to cheer him up, Ju-won and Hae-jun comes into his room to tease and disturb him, and he chases out of the room, but he is happy to have them. San-ha is a smart kid with outstanding academic performance, and his teachers advise him to go to Seoul to study medicine, but he does not want to leave. Later, Hae-jun wants to talk to San-ha privately as she confesses to San-ha after dumping Hae-jun, but San-ha is not interested in her and leaves. Ju-won overhears this and misunderstands, and she is angry as she feels that San-ha does not treat her as his real family and does not tell her everything. San-ha tells her off and says that family is not about legal documents, and that nothing would change between them even if they share the surname, and walks away. This made Ju-won upset. Meanwhile, Hae-jun is practicing basketball when he notices a strange man taking pictures of him. When Hae-jun chases him, he drops his camera and runs off. Upon looking at the photos, he realizes that the man had been taking photos of him and the security guard gave him a name card. This man is a private investigator. Later, Hae-jun's aunt visited Young-jae at the restaurant with gifts. When she was leaving, Hae-jun spots her and is happy to see her. Before leaving, she reminds him that he needs to repay Young-jae's kindness, and even told him that he should not be a burden. During dinner, Ju-won is still sulking and refuses to eat. She storms off and San-ha follows her to apologize for his harsh words and told her that Hae-jun is not his girlfriend and resolves the misunderstanding. The next day, a man arrives in a flashy car and appears at Hae-jun basketball practice. He announces that he is Hae-jun's father, and this leaves Hae-jun extremely shocked. His dad told him that he only knew Hae-jun's existence recently. He receives a phone call and hands Hae-jun a card and leaves. Hae-jun is taken aback. Later, Hae-jun arrives at the restaurant and wants to tell Young-jae about today's events, but he could not bring himself to do so as he does not want his dad to be upset. Later, San-ha notices something is off with Hae-jun and chats with him. Hae-jun tells him that he met his birth father and he feels conflicted because he was happy about it but also don't want to leave. However, San-ha told him to be cautious and Hae-jun suggests that they meet with his aunt to see what she knows. The next day, San-ha accompanied Hae-jun to meet with his aunt. Hae-jun's aunt does not respond well to hearing that his birth father went to see Hae-jun. She told him that he was an irresponsible and heartless man. When Hae-jun's mom was pregnant with him, his birth father ran off to marry the daughter of a wealthy family and abandoned Hae-jun and his mom. She gives Hae-jun an ultimatum right off the bat that if Hae-jun is going to see his birth father, then he will never see her again. Hae-jun assures her that he will not see him again. San-ha comforts him and spends the day with him. Meanwhile, Ju-won was looking for her brothers, but could not get through them. When she saw them coming home together, she questions them about their whereabouts. Later, San-ha told Ju-won that he is hanging out with Hae-jun tomorrow, and she is annoyed that neither of them tells her. The next day, San-ha accompanies Hae-jun to confront his birth father. Hae-jun is angry that his birth father lied to him. He asks his birth father what was his real motive for looking for him, and it turned out that it was because his birth dad wants a heir to leave his assets to and wants Hae-jun to change his surname and go to America with him. However, Hae-jun rejects the offer and they each pay for the drink before leaving. Hae-jun is upset but Sanha tells him to forget about it. He also tells Sanha not to tell Young-jae about it. However, Hae-jun's birth father appeared at Young-jae's noodle shop and handed him an envelope containing cash to compensate him for taking care of his son and told him that he wants Hae-jun to come with him to America. Young-jae is furious and hands the envelope back and told him that he is Hae-jun's guardian and they should respect Hae-jun's wishes. At that moment, Ju-won and Dal appeared at the restaurant but left immediately when they noticed the tension. They found Sanha and Hae-jun and told them to hurry to the restaurant, but Hae-jun's father left when they arrived. Young-jae tells Hae-jun that his birth father wants to take him and he would not stop him but he wishes that he would not go as he wants to keep taking care of Hae-jun. Hae-jun cries and confesses that he was only afraid that Young-jae would abandon him as he knows he is only supposed to stay with Young-jae until his mom came for him, but now his birth father appeared. They both cried but were happy that they shared the same thoughts. Later, Ju-won finds out the truth from Sanha. When Hae-jun appeared teary eyes, the two of them comforts him. Later, Young-jae tells Hae-jun's birth father that he will take care of him and even if he wants to go America, he wants to be the one who sends him there and hands the money back to him. Sanha's mother is back in town with her young daughter, so he and she appears at Sanha's school. They go to a cafe and Sanha asks her why she bother coming now after leaving him. However, she ignores the question and instead blamed him for the death of his younger sister and insists on Sanha visiting his half-sister. Sanha wishes her well and leaves angrily. Meanwhile, Hae-jun and Ju-won are waiting for him outside the coffee place. However, Hae-jun tells Ju-won to leave as he is with his mom. However, Ju-won insists on waiting and Hae-jun became annoyed and left. Hae-jun is acting this way as he misses his mom as she never came back for him after all these years. Later, Ju-won walks home with him. However, Sanha is deeply affected by his mother's words and walks onto oncoming traffic, but luckily Ju-won pulls him away. Seeing how much Ju-won cares for him makes him happy, and they go on to eat burgers and cakes as a way to de-stress. Later, Sanha's mother meets his dad. They go on a meal but end up quarreling as she insists that Sanha goes to Seoul with her, and he is unhappy that she is self-centered and asks her to leave him alone. Later, Hae-jun got angry that they were making a fuss about Sanha's mom coming for him, but deep down, it was because he was jealous and wished his mom would come for him too. Sanha tells him that there was nothing to be jealous about and his mom still blames him for his sister's death. In the end, Ju-won manages to cheer both of them up. At night, Sanha's mother appears at Young-jae's noodle place with her daughter. When Sanha arrives home, she takes her daughter out and asks her to call him Appa. Sanha is shocked as she looks like her deceased sister. Sanha and his mother sit at the restaurant to talk and Ju-won brings the little girl out. She grabs his hand and tells him that she wants to stay with him. Sanha tells his mother to leave and never come back. Young-jae told Sanha's mom that she should not bring up the past incident and that she should prioritize Sanha's wants instead of forcing him to do things. However, Sanha's mom is unreasonable and says that Sanha is her son so she will decide and blames Young-jae for being too lenient with him. At this moment, Hae-jun sees this scene and thinks of his mom and pleads with Sanha to give his mom a chance, but Sanha tells him not to meddle in his affair. As Hae-jun continues bugging him, in a fit of anger, Sanha tells Hae-jun that his mom lied to him and that she would not be back. Upon hearing that, he punches Sanha. He tells Hae-jun that both of them were abandoned by their moms. Upon witnessing the chaos, Sanha's mother took her daughter and told Young-jae that this is what happened due to his bad parenting. Later, the atmosphere at dinner was tense and both Sanha and Hae-jun are still angry at each other. Later at school, Ju-won received a love letter from a secret admirer, Jun-ho. When she finds out who it is, they go on a date. However, she is not impressed with him as he mentions that she is bright for someone who is from a single-parent family. She told him to never see each other again and left. Even though she is affected, she brushes it away after a while. Later, Jun-ho wants to take her on a rail bike date to make up to her. She decided to use this opportunity to invite her brothers so that they can make up with one another. The next day, they arrived at the location. She invited Dal. She was running late as there was a traffic jam. They decide to go ahead for the ride and tells her brothers to have a good conversation while she cycle. She is exhausted as she is the only one cycling. They ended up fighting again and Ju-won was upset and she told them to leave. Dal arrives and is approached by a group of boys on her way. When Ju-won sees this, she immediately runs to help her friend. However, she fainted due to exhaustion. When her brothers learn about it, they rush to the scene and shocked to see her on the ground, they starts beating up the bullies. They all arrived at the police station and Mr. Kim rushed down when he received the call. Sanha and Hae-jun apologized to the boys for the misunderstanding. Mr. Kim was shocked when he saw what happened, and drove all of them home. Later when Dao's mother saw her getting out of Mr. Kim's car, she started yelling at her for going out. Dao made up an excuse and told her that Ju-won's brother was the top student and she wanted to get the notes from him. Dao has a crush on Hae-jun, but Ju asks Hae-jun if he will ever like Dao since she is his sister's friend, and he says no. Upon hearing that, Dao brushes it away, but deep down she feels sad. Later, Sanha and Ju-won goes out to buy a birthday gift for Hae-jun. They buy him a pair of basketball shoes. Sanha's mother and his sister are out at the same mall, and when his mother goes to the toilet, she spots Sanha and ran after him. However, she tripped over the steps and got bruised. Sanha rushes over and helps her out. However, when his mother arrives and saw the scene, she says that accidents always happen when Sanha is present. However, Ju-won defends him by saying that he makes everyone around him lucky, and pulls him away. Deep down, Sanha is happy, and he looks at her romantically. The next day they celebrate Hae-jun's birthday, and his aunt comes for the celebration. Later she talks to Hae-jun in his room and reminds him that he has to pay back his debt to Young-jae and has to do extra chores to make himself worthy, and Young-jae happens to hear. He is extremely upset upon hearing this as he treats Hae-jun as his son. This makes Young-jae drunk and he proceeds to tell her that Hae-jun is a good kid and does not deserve to be treated like this, as he took him in without expecting anything in return, and they are all in tears. When Sanha cleans up the table, she insists on doing it, but he says that he and Hae-jun are the same. She goes on by saying that his dad pays the bills, but Sanha says that their dads love all of them equally. Upon hearing this, Hae-jun is relieved. Later, he escorts his aunt to get a taxi, and she apologizes to him for her words. The next day, Hae-jun's mom show up at Young-jae's shop and hand him an envelope of cash saying it was repayment for her debt, and left. Young-jae tells her to see her son because he misses her so much, but she tells him that she does not want to see him and left. Young-jae runs after her to hand her back the cash and pleads with her to see Hae-jun, but she still insists on leaving. Later, Sanha receives a call that he disappeared, as she wanted to look for Sanha. Everyone searches for her, but luckily, she ends up at a restaurant and a lady called the police. Mr. Kim arrives with his team, and just then he receives a call from Sanha and realizes that the missing girl is So-hee and brings her back. They are relieved to see that she is safe, and Sanha's mother arrives at the restaurant and starts blaming him for So-hee's disappearance because he refuses to visit them. She then proceeds to scream at him, saying that it was his fault that his sister died in front of everyone. Sanha's dad scolds her and says that it was her fault and not Sanha, and she slaps him and mocks him. Meanwhile, Sanha is still dealing with all the trauma of losing his sister and his mom blaming him for it. He is embarrassed because of what happened and avoids everyone. He skips meals, and Ju-won brings food for him daily. He is touched by her actions. Later, Hae-jun also apologizes to him as he did not know his mom is so mean towards him. After school, it was raining heavily and Sanha rushes home and he was drenched, but Ju-won was waiting for him with an umbrella in hand and searching for him. Upon reaching home, they have a warm meal and he is deeply touched by how much everyone cares for him. As he was running a temperature, they took turns to nurse him through the night. The next day his dad takes him to the columbarium to see his deceased sister. He tells her that it is not his fault and that he can visit his sister whenever he misses her. Later, Dao's mom insists that she asks Ju-won and her brothers for lunch. During the lunch, she berates Dao for being stupid and clumsy, and even made Dao cry. They take her to the beach after the meal, to cheer her up. Sanha could sense her sadness and comforted her by telling her that she is a great friend and to not think too much of her mom's words. Later, Hae-jun visits his aunt in the hospital to see her baby, and accidentally found out from the nurse that his mom came to visit his aunt. He also happened to overhear Young-jae and Mr. Kim conversation, where he told him that Hae-jun's mom came and handed him a lot of money. Mr. Kim says to use it for Hae-jun's college, but Young-jae feels unsettled. He breaks down in tears knowing that his mom did not want to see him. Sanha and Ju-won arrive home and see Hae-jun sitting outside the house. He shares with them about what happened and is upset that she has the money now but still has not come for him. They comfort him by sharing their snacks. Later, Hae-jun tells Young-jae that he knows his mom came and told him to use the money from his mom for his tuition, and tells him that he will pay him back later on. He is sad as Hae-jun is sad and emphasizes that he does not owe him anything. The next day, Hae-jun's birth father told him to go to America, but Hae-jun refuses and went on for his practice. Later, his birth father overhears that Hae-jun is the most talented player in his team. He is also playing against the team from Seoul in an upcoming match. It was the day of the boys' college entrance exam and everyone was nervous for them but cheers for them as they send them off, but it went well and they celebrated with a barbecue party at the rooftop. Later, it was the basketball match finals, and Hae-jun's birth dad appeared at the match. Hae-jun and his team won against the Seoul team and everyone was incredibly happy. However, San-ha saw Hae-jun's birth dad and asks him why he was there. However, he brushes him off and drives off. He arrives at Young-jae's restaurant and tells him that he should not stand in the way of Hae-jun's future as there are more basketball opportunities in America. Upon hearing this, Mr. Kim chases him away. Meanwhile, after Hae-jun learns that his birth dad came, he runs off and bumps into him. However, his birth dad threatens him that he should listen to him as he can easily close down Young-jae's restaurant. Upon hearing that, Hae-jun was furious and he warns him to not touch Young-jae. Meanwhile, San-ha receives a call informing that his mother had been in a serious car accident. He informs the rest that her husband has passed away and his mom is in critical condition. San-ha and his dad rush to the hospital where San-ha's uncle is present. San-ha's mom is in a bad shape. Later, so he keeps crying upon knowing that she is not able to see both her mom and dad, and San-ha offers to stay for a few days to look after her. Ju-won worries about him and wants to visit him in Seoul and suggests for the rest of them to visit, however all of them asks her to wait patiently as he will return soon. She ends up packing his belongings and sneaking off to Seoul alone. However, when she arrives and spots San-ha, so he calls out to him saying that their mom regained consciousness. Seeing this scene, Ju-won went back without seeing him. When San-ha enters his mother's hospital room, she was sitting on the floor and starts screaming and banging her legs on the floor. San-ha rushes to help her up, but she punches him and starts saying that her life is so unfortunate and says that she wishes to die. San-ha tells her to think of her children and leaves. Later, San-ha's uncle asks San-ha to go to a university in Seoul so that he can look after Sohee and help his mom with her recovery, but he is conflicted. The next morning, Ju-won and Hae-jun find Young-jae on the floor and rush him to the hospital. It turns out that he overworked. Later, Hae-jun overhears Young-jae's conversation with Mr. Kim that he intends to send Hae-jun abroad so he needs to work hard, but Mr. Kim told him that he will never be able to afford it so he should let him follow his birth dad instead. Upon hearing this, he was heartbroken and consults his friend. His friend told him to go with his birth dad and become successful so he can repay Young-jae in the future. Later, Hae-jun told Young-jae that he will go to America with his birth father, but will return once he becomes successful, and tells his dad to not work too hard while he is away. Young-jae is heartbroken upon hearing this. When San-ha returns home, Ju-won is so excited and hugs him. Later he talks to Hae-jun as he wants to tell him that he will be moving to Seoul. However, Hae-jun told him first that he was leaving for America with his birth father and they both started arguing as they could not both leave at the same time, otherwise nobody will take care of their dads. Deep down both of them does not want to leave, but they do not have a choice. Ju-won happens to hear this and she is shocked and shattered. Ju-won asks San-ha if he is abandoning them to go with their real family. San-ha tells her that he needs to take care of his mother and sister, and that now they have grown up, they have responsibilities on their plate. She locks herself in her room and is upset. San-ha's dad has drinks with San-ha and is against his decision, but he is afraid that his mom will kill herself and he will lose another family member again. Upon hearing that, he reluctantly lets him go. The next day, Ju-won is upset and ignores them. Later, Hae-jun breaks the news to Dal that he is leaving and they have one last meal together. She still could not find the courage to confess and could only cry bitterly after he left. San-ha finds Ju-won at the cake shop and she tells him that she loves the fact that both him and Hae-jun are always around as they make the family more lively. San-ha promises that he will be back soon and that he will call her every day. Later, she goes to Hae-jun's room and takes his belongings as she wants him to leave a part of him behind. Later, Hae-jun and Young-jae have a conversation and it was Young-jae who taught him how to play basketball when he was younger. Young-jae tells him that he does not need to be successful. He just wants him to enjoy his time there and he can return anytime. The boys bid farewell to Young-jae and left. Ju-won did not appear as she did not want to say goodbye to her brothers. On her 17th birthday, they video called her, and she was awaiting their return. Subsequently, they stopped calling her during her birthday and only Young-jae and Mr. Kim celebrated for her. Many years passed, and there were lesser and lesser interactions between them and they stopped talking altogether. 10 years passed, and now Ju-won opened her bakery. Even though her 27th birthday is upcoming, she tells her dad she does not want to celebrate and wishes to focus on her bakery instead. Later, Dal tells Ju-won that there has been a strange man lurking around the bakery. He enters the bakery and just then Ju-won arrives and realizes someone broke in. The man tries to run away, but is caught by Ju-won and they end up at the police station, but he refuses to show his face. Both dads rush down and later realizes that the strange guy is Hae-jun. Young-jae is shocked, but happy that he is back. Just then, San-ha arrives at the police station as well. However, Ju-won is not pleased that they are back. Hae-jun apologizes and tells them that he did not call as he just completed military service and does not have a phone to contact them, and that he dropped out of school and stopped playing basketball. San-ha is now a successful doctor. Later she tells Dal that she feels awkward seeing them again. During dinner, Ju-won insists that they are not a family anymore and leaves. Ju-won tells them that she is not pleased to see them, but the next morning realizes that San-ha and Hae-jun are staying next door. Ju-won thinks that Hae-jun is poor and unemployed and gives him her card to buy shoes for himself. However, he meets with a real estate agent as he is keen on buying a restaurant space for Young-jae. The next day, it was Ju-won's birthday, but she is not excited about it and instead questions them. She asks Hae-jun for the reason to why he did not contact them for the last 5 years. And San-ha reveals that Hae-jun got injured and had to stop playing basketball. He even called San-ha, because he thought he would never be able to walk again. Upon hearing this, Young-jae is incredibly upset and heartbroken that Hae-jun had to suffer. He holds Hae-jun's hands and told him that if it was too difficult, he should have came back and embraces Hae-jun warmly. Hae-jun assures Ju-won that he is fine. Ju-won feels hurt that the both of them did not share their lives with her during the past 5 years. San-ha apologizes that he came back much later than expected and it was because his mom begged him not to leave. Later, Mr. Kim and Young-jae were having drinks, and they are glad that they managed to save up some money, and Mr. Kim tells Young-jae to use it for Hae-jun as San-ha is successful enough, but Young-jae insists that they need to split it equally. That evening, they celebrated Ju-won's birthday at her shop with her friends. She was upset as San-ha was held up at work and did not come. Later, he hangs earrings outside her house, and the next morning when she sees it makes her happy. Later, San-ha heard that she is going for a blind date and rushes to her cafe. He asks her to not go for the date and confesses his feelings to her, and told her that he started liking her since 10 years ago, but she is taken aback and leaves. Later, Dal asks San-ha if he likes Ju-won, and he nods his head and smiles. Ju-won avoids San-ha, but she cannot stop thinking about him. Ju-won tells San-ha that their relationship is purely familial love and San-ha tells Ju-won to forget about all that and to start all over as adults. Later, Mr. Kim receives a call from San-ha's mother, who tells her that she has only let San-ha return home for a month and he should return soon to take care of her. This news shocked Mr. Kim and Young-jae as he previously told them that he is returning for good. San-ha's dad and Young-jae talks to San-ha to find out the truth, and he tells them he has made his decision and is not returning to Seoul. However, the dads could sense that his mom was the one who forced him not to return previously, and his dad got angry and tells San-ha not to hide anything from him. Later, Ju-won reassures Hae-jun that Young-jae misses him and wants him to return home, and she only said that they are not a family as she was upset with him for not contacting her. Young-jae bumps into Hae-jun's mother and knows that she set up her hair salon close by. He calls Hae-jun to tell him, but she stops him. Later, Young-jae insists that she sees Hae-jun as he regrets letting her leave 10 years ago. She spills the beans that she killed someone in the past. Meanwhile, San-ha and Ju-won starts dating and she is afraid that her dad and Hae-jun will not approve, but San-ha reassures her and kisses her. Hae-jun helps Dal to crash a blind date, which her mom forces her to go on. Later, Dal and Hae-jun run into the realtor, who's trying to find Hae-jun a building. After hearing Dal's advice about whether he should ask Young-jae about the decision, Hae-jun decides to ask Young-jae before purchasing the property. He hands Young-jae a bank book and tells him he wishes to buy him a building, but the first thing Young-jae asks is if it is his birth dad's money. Hae-jun tells him that he has been working at restaurants and did modeling gigs to save up the money. Hae-jun accidentally spills that he did all these to repay Young-jae, and this made him furious and heartbroken as he never wanted his son to suffer or pay him back. He asks if it is because Hae-jun does not treat him as his biological father and asks him to leave. Hae-jun is heartbroken. He later confides in Dal and she comforts him by saying that Young-jae told him that because he loves him and tells him to just apologize. However, later Mr. Kim and Ajuma talks to him and tells him that no parent in this world would be unhappy if their child bought them a building and it was his guilty conscience speaking. They later find Hae-jun's modeling photos online and Young-jae plasters Hae-jun's modeling shots around his restaurant to brag about his son. Hae-jun was happy when he saw this. Later, San-ha's mom and sister came on the pretext that she wanted to see the sea, but it was because she wants to take Sanha back. Mr. Kim met her, wanting to have a conversation, but she ends up shouting at him and blaming him and Sanha for her misfortune. Mr. Kim scolds her for treating Sanha like her pawn. He gets angry and leaves. Hae-jun receives a text from his aunt that his mom is nearby and sends him her address, and he rushes off to see her from afar. He sees her smiling happily and wonders why she did not come to look for him after all these years. Sanha and Ju-won were out on a date when they saw Hae-jun sitting alone. He tells them he saw his mom, and Ju-won asks him to go approach her and ask for the truth, but Hae-jun is too afraid of the truth. Later, Sanha, Ju-won and Young-jae meets Hae-jun's mom at her salon to understand what had happened. She tells them that she does not want to ruin her son's life and even goes on her knees to beg them to keep it a secret from Hae-jun. Ju-won tells her that Hae-jun grew up well, but he is waiting for his mom. Later, Sanha's mom and so he arrives at his house and Hae-jun rushes to tell him. Sanha's mom had never stopped blaming him for her misfortunes, and Sanha had a hard time being by her side, but he endured it. She insists he returns with her, but he refuses as he wants to lead his own life as he feels that him being by her side makes the pain worse for her. He asks her to return to Seoul. Ju-won and Sanha meets for a date, and she tells him that if he has to leave to take care of his mom and so he should go and she can visit him. However, he tells Ju-won that he wants her to ask him to stay, and they hug each other lovingly. His mom visits him in the hospital later to guilt trip him again so that he will return to Seoul with her. Ju-won appears, and Sanha's mother scolds him for abandoning his family to come back. Ju-won tells Sanha's mom that she should take a taxi as Sanha is leaving with her, and that he belongs to her because she gave him away to her when she abandoned him. She holds his hand and pulls him away. Hae-jun finds insomnia medicine in Sanha's drawer and confronts him about it. He tells Sanha that he should share his struggles, and that there is no need to be strong all the time. Upon hearing this, Sanha breaks down in tears. Later, Sanha visits Hae-jun's mother hoping to change her mind and shares with her that he and Hae-jun bonded as brothers because they were both abandoned by their mothers. But he is glad that it is not the truth for Hae-jun and tells her that Hae-jun deserves to know that. Later, Hae-jun goes home to retrieve more beer for a party. He catches Sanha and Ju-won kissing, and upon realizing that they are dating, he is upset and refuses to talk to them. Later, Dal follows him as she is worried about him, but she ends up hurting herself and he sends her to his hospital. On the ride back, he tells Dal that he knows he is being unreasonable, but deep down he fears that he will be the odd one out and abandoned again if Sanha and Ju-won become officially related. A flashback shows that he called Sanha years back to tell him that his birth father abandoned him again after having a child of his own. Later, Ju-won cooks for Hae-jun to cheer him up and get his approval. He is worried for Ju-won as things may become complicated if she dates Sanha, but Ju-won likes Sanha and he ends up giving in. Hae-jun stops by his mom's shop to look at her, but ends up catching her laughing with a friend and is upset. His mom calls out to him, but he yells at her. As much as he forces himself to not come, he misses her so much that he cannot help himself and he does not understand why his mom does not want to see him. Later, Dal comforts him by telling him that maybe his mom had her own reasons and could not come to him for his sake. The next day, he met his mom and she explained everything to him. She tells him that she visited him back then she felt that he was better off with Young-jae as she was going to prison, so she did not want to disrupt his life. Hae-jun shouted at her as he feels sorry for her that she was leading such a sad life after leaving and told her she should have lived happily. When Young-jae appeared, he felt betrayed that he knew everything but never shared it with him. Hae-jun cries bitterly and Young-jae embraces him and his mom apologizes to him. Hae-jun takes Dal to the hospital for her follow-up and loudly confesses to Hae-jun. She is embarrassed and rushes off. Dal bumps into Hae-jun and he tells her that he treats her as his sister and rejects her. Dal is heartbroken. At home, Dal's mom reprimands her about spoiling the blind date and she tells her mom that the person she likes does not like her and that she is heartbroken. She wishes for her mom's comfort. Later, everyone was present in Young-jae's restaurant and Sanha wants to inform the dads about their relationship. Sanha announces that he and Ju-won are dating and asks for their approval. While Mr. Kim is thrilled, Young-jae does not approve. He is upset because he is worried if Ju-won and Sanha breaks up, they will no longer be able to be a family again. Sanha's mom appears at Ju-won Cafe and tells her to break it off as they do not love each other romantically. She even threatens Ju-won by saying that she will be nice to Sanha if she leaves him and tells her that he should find someone else and start on a clean slate. Later, Ju-won calls her dad and asks him how did he know that he loved her mom. When Young-jae mentions that her mom was his world, she is relieved as that is how she feels about Sanha. Later, Senha tells his mom that he wants to lead his own life and that he does not resent his mom, but wants her to be truly happy. He was never able to tell his mom that he was hurting, but he regrets that he was not honest with her about his true feelings, and begs her to let the past go so that she can be happy. Senha visits Yoon-jae and promises to take care of her. He tells Yoon-jae he is finally strong enough to protect her, and he approves of their relationship. Later, when Dal is on another blind date at Ju-won's cafe, Hae-jun spots them and feels uneasy. The man ends up being Sanha's patient and he suggests for them to play a match of basketball to help Hae-jun. Later, when Hae-jun wins, he tells Dal's blind date that he wants to take Dal with him and tells her that he likes her and suggests that they should date. She is overjoyed. Hae-jun meets with his mom and she encourages him to do what he loves the most and she will support him. Later, he talks to Ju-won and they want to make their parents together once again. When Hae-jun's mom visits Yoon-jae, he confesses to her but she is hesitant and wants things to remain as it is as she is afraid of how other people think. Ju-won visits Hae-jun's mom and tells her that she is apologetic because as a kid she did not want a new mom and threw a tantrum, but at that time it was because her dad looked at Hae-jun's mom lovingly, and as a kid she was jealous. Ju-won continues that she may never have a mom again if it's not Hae-jun's mom and asks her to be her mom. She visits Yoon-jae and confesses to him that she will be a good wife and mother to a daughter. He is shocked and she feels embarrassed, but just as she is about to leave, Yoon-jae tells her that he fell in love with her the first time and every time again when he saw her, and they promise to live happily with each other. Sanha's mom calls Mr. Kim to let him know that she is going to UK with So-hee, and Mr. Kim joins various activities including singing to keep himself occupied and hopefully finds a girlfriend. Yoon-jae and Hae-jun's mom gets married and it was a small but joyous wedding where all of them are incredibly happy and grateful for one another. True family does not have to be one where you are bound by blood ties, but also by people you choose to love. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed our summary.